Good evening. I'm gonna talk about fanboys and Steam reviews. Like often when there's a game, especially like sort of like a niche cult classic or something, there's like majority of people like it and it has a really devoted following. And then when somebody leaves a negative review on it on Steam, then like the fanboys attack, and I have few examples of it. And first one is like Battle Brothers, because I noticed like it had been in early access for a long time, but it was um, released like as a finished game like almost a week ago. And then I decided to, because I've been like sort of following it, looks sort of interesting, but I don't know if it's really good or not, or if I would like it or not. And then I decided to read the reviews. There's like very positive, so most people seem to like it, and most reviews here are positive, as you can see. But then there is this one, Grimblood. I'm gonna address this. So his review is negative, and I won't read all of it, but I'll read the beginning. An extremely hyped game that boils down to this. 1. Go to a settlement and accept a contract for your mercenary band. You can't have more than one active contract at a time. 2. Do what the contract says. Go there and kill that. Alternatively, go there and take this with you. 3. Go back to the settlement where you accepted the contract, collect your payment and sell the loot. 4. Use the money to hire more mercenaries for your warband and upgrade the equipment of your mercenaries. 5. Rinse and repeat. And he says, my 18-hour experience of the game consisted solely of these 5 steps. And then there are like more details, why he didn't like the game so much and why he doesn't recommend it. And I think this is very like sufficient, whether or not you agree with all of these points, but this guy clearly has played this game and he has like stated his views why he doesn't recommend it. So it doesn't have to be a professional review. It's just a Steam review by a Steam user. This is how it's supposed to work. And like Steam reviews have a bad reputation, but I think they are actually more reliable often than the corporate game media, well, especially after Gamergate, like who really trusts them, but like even before that I thought they were crappy. Like on Steam you can see a few different reviews to see if a game is worth buying or not. So anyway, then I'm gonna take a look at some of the reviews, or like the comments of this review. And there is some people obviously agree with this guy. I couldn't get into this game either, got a refund. At least the refund process was easy and painless. But then there's this guy, Masterless, with 3s instead of e's. He's so cool. So he said he downvoted the review because looking at my Steam library of a decent amount of games, I realized I can pretty much create a 5-step moaning list for all of them, regardless of how epic I think many of them are. Skyrim, Fallout, Dragon Age, Football Manager, Ark Survival, Baldur's Gate, Final Fantasy, etc. The list goes on. Okay, so I don't know. It's well, I'd like to see him make the list about all of these games, because at least I haven't played Battle Brothers, so I don't know how accurate this is. But I don't know. It's sort of like a overgeneralization, like trying to refute his point that the game is sort of boring and repetitive with this banal comment. And then this is he's revealing how passive aggressive he is. Other than that, good review, but it was clear you weren't trying to be very objective when writing. Peace. Like first there is this like he is pretending, like Masterless is pretending like he is being objective, but this guy, but Greenblood, he wasn't supposedly objective. And of course, you could go all into this, like how objective a game review can never be, because by definition, like it is somewhat subjective, but of course there have to be some objective but things, but that's another question. But like he is being the objective, and then he says peace. So it's basically saying, like adding this like lame ass comment here is like, oh, please don't criticize my comment, or like if you are, then you are like a warmonger or something. Like it's like this guy can like fire shots at others, but if they fire back, then it's like, oh no, you're a warmonger. Like he sounds like a complete fucking bitch based on this. And then there's this guy, Celerity, Executor of Impunity. He's like he is more like the opposite. Like he's saying like adding mod support so some random autist can prove they're far better at game dev than the actual devs doesn't solve anything. So I suppose like they added dev support to Battle Brothers, and he doesn't think it's like he's suggesting it can be used as an excuse, so the developers don't have to develop the game properly as long as they just add this. So hopefully other people fix their problems. And also like, and then he says anyone with even basic game design skill could make this a real game on a week's worth of lunch breaks. But why make some other lazy corrupt fucks money? So I don't know, like this guy sounds like a bit too hostile against Battle Brothers. Like I don't know it. I haven't played the game, so I don't know how good or crappy it is. But this comment, like you could make a week's worth of lunch breaks to fix the game. That doesn't sound very credible to me. So okay, this is like the anti-fanboy. He's like on a crusade against the game. It sounds a bit like it, but whatever. And yeah, here is the same guy, Celerity, Executor of Impunity, saying that Battle Brothers needs is mass censorship of critics now. It's already got the vote manipulation and attack dogs going that artificially make itself seem well received. So he is of course saying, this sort of sarcastically, that they need mass censorship, like I guess because we have seen similar behavior from other companies, whether they're game companies or not, like they censor critics. And he is alleging that there is vote manipulation, I guess on Steam. Like maybe this is like it isn't like an accurate depiction, because here it says it's 92% positive reviews. So maybe it's sort of like, maybe they paid some people off or something, gave them a free copy so they would give a positive review. I don't know if that is true, but that's what it seems like this guy is alleging that is. Of course, he seems okay. This guy seems a bit too like overly critical, but still, I don't know. I like hating stuff, so I cannot be too hard on him. Okay, let's move on. And then there's this. Burst Fire. The dude didn't like the game that he purchased. He's responding to somebody else. He didn't like the game he purchased as a paying customer. He's entitled to leave a negative review. You fanboys need to stop being butthurt. Yeah, exactly. There are many fanboys. Well, just on Steam in general, and I have had such things in like in my personal life as well. Like if I discuss some game that my friends really likes, and then they take it personally. This is how fanboys behave. Like I guess that's the difference between a fan it's not so bad to be a fan of a game or a company if you know consistently they make games that you like, but you become a fanboy is like a cultist sort of if you stop your critical thinking and your own like if you no longer like the games they make because you like the games, but you like the games because it's the company that makes them, if you get my point. Like, let's say I used to be a fan of Squaresoft, but then Squaresoft became Square Enix, and after that most of their games have sucked. Not every game, and well, I haven't played many of their games since the Final Fantasy 13 or no, yeah, 13 is like the okay, whatever. Let's move on. Okay, this guy, Cryblade, don't all games boil down to doing X? Lol, silly review. And, well, my argument would be that I guess every game boils down to doing X. But the point is the X enjoyable? Is it fun? Is it challenging? Whatever, And at least according to Greenblood, it's not fun. So, I don't know. It's sort of like argument, like a woman gets raped and it's like a hostile invader pierces her vagina with his penis, like lol, that is what rape is, so you cannot criticize it. Or I don't know, like what the fuck does this mean? Okay, then there's this guy, funny dog picture. This review seems like you missed literally half of the game. Piecing of royal houses doesn't just lose your reputation with them, it's what gets the game rolling. It gets the houses working against each other and opens up tons of new contract options. So yeah, the Greenblood, he was saying something about like, there's these different royal houses and you can do quests for some of them and then you might piss off the others. And okay, this guy's argument is that Greenblood didn't like explore this aspect of the game enough, and I don't know if he's right or not, but so I don't know, maybe this is a good argument. But then he goes to say this: your review is fair enough, but your crusade against the game and general defensiveness tank your credibility. It's a game that wasn't the game you wanted it to be, not some personal affront to your ego or whatever. The downvotes are because you seem super petulant about it, not because you don't like the game. Okay, so is this jargon of a card? Like, when somebody criticizes something you like, it's a crusade. Like, but if you criticize something, then you are, providing critique or something. Like, it's so fucking retarded. I think somebody called me like, I had crusade against something too when I criticized some game on the internet once. I don't know, I'm getting flashbacks, like, what the fuck? Like, writing a review is a crusade now, okay? I think it sort of undermines the scope of the actual crusades. Like, I think, whether you think it was good, bad, or neither, or, I think it took a lot of effort from the Crusaders, like organizing and sacrifice and, and whatever. It's fucking retarded. And it's like, and then he's saying, like, the game is not some personal affront to your ego or whatever. Like, it sounds like he is taking it as a funny dog picture, is taking it as a personal affront that somebody dared to criticize his favorite game. Okay, let's move on. This one, this was like, it's a fair review personally. Jay Covington, it's a fair review. Personally, I'm really happy with the game and having a great time, but this is a thoughtful review by someone who just doesn't enjoy the game. I can respect that, and I don't understand the downvotes. This is a great response. Like, he liked the game, and but he agrees, like, with the, you can have differing opinions. Like, games are ultimately a very subjective thing. Like, of course, if it's a buggy mess and doesn't work properly, I guess you can still have fun with it, but it doesn't work as it should, and that is like objectively wrong. Like if there are serious bugs, but like yeah, this like clearly not everybody's tastes are equal, and like this guy can respect it, so this is nice. He's not a fanboy, he might be a fan, at least he likes the game, and this sort of thing makes me happy, even though I prefer conflict, I suppose. So okay, this one, Homicus, he's, well, some people are complaining that Greenblood, he didn't like, he had a wrong idea of what the game is supposed to be or something. Yeah, this guy. Okay, let's read this first. Merlinator. It's funny because the amount of people that I see give bad reviews on games because the game isn't what it didn't even advertise itself. It's hilarious. It's hilarious how these people also, like, they set themselves on a higher level. Like, they're like on a, Moses on a mountain looking at these, plebs who are, I hate how I keep repeating, how they are doing really silly, childish stuff, and this guy is like so much higher than them and just laughing like, oh, this is so pathetic. Like, this is fucking annoying. This is fucking retard. So anyway, I, no joke, saw somebody review XCOM 2 because the combat was turn-based. Like, Ruffle. I don't know. I don't do, these things. I old. I don't understand what Ruffle. I just imagine it's some sort of dog, like Ruffle. Like dog eating something crunchy and Ruffle. Okay. So anyway, like, I think it's like, if you play XCOM 2 and you don't like it, if you don't like turn-based combat, I think it's a valid thing to, leave a negative review if you really don't like the turn-based combat in XCOM. Like, I prefer usually turn-based combat to like real-time combat. Like, yeah, I don't like real-time strategies usually. So it's like, I haven't played the new XCOM games at all, so I don't know if they're good or not. But like, if you don't like turn-based combat and you happen to play this game, then I think it's completely reasonable to leave a negative review. Like, of course, like if you actually buy it or something, and like you don't know that XCOM games are turn-based strategy games, then it's, I don't know, sounds a bit dumb, but I don't know what he's referring to or who is the guy who left the negative review, so there's nothing wrong with it. But anyway, him and some other people are alleging that Greenblood, he had his own idea how this game works, and like this different view of the game that it is advertised, but this guy points out it's not true. It isn't advertised as mercenary simulator. It's advertised as a turn-based tactical RPG with atmospheric encounters and tough decisions outside of combat, which are reflecting the creativity, complexity, and originality, and inspired by some of the best games out there. The original XCOM, Warhammer, Shadow of the Horned, Mountain Blade, and Jagged Alliance. So yeah, some people say like it was advertised as a mercenary simulator, but it's not. But anyway, so they are like trying to, I don't know, sidestep the issue, like by sort of irrelevant stuff. Anyway, and he said, I'm puzzled by your attitude and, dare I say, deliberate misunderstanding of Greenblood's review. So yeah, I think this is good. Deliberate misunderstanding. This is like, I don't know, I think like SJWs and people like that also do it. And, these fanboys to, misunderstand. Like they SJWs misunderstand the, fairly benign words as microaggressions or whatever. And this guy misunderstands his, review as, I don't know, being retarded. But anyway, let's move on with the next game. This has gone long enough, I see. Okay, this is a Stellaris review by somebody called Kerma. I don't know if it is a Finnish guy. Kerma means cream in Finnish. Maybe it's like, I don't know, Bulgarian or something, but whatever. So anyway, this guy, he says, Stellaris is a great game, but unfortunately is made by Paradox Interactive, which means that even though it is a good idea and decent execution, half the content that should be in the game will be cut out and sold to you as DLC. If you want to see what Stellaris could potentially end up being, take a look at Crusader Kings' 2 current DLC list. And I played Stellaris only like when it first came out a little bit. It was sort of fun for a while, but it was completely retarded that there's only one way to win the game, like to conquer the whole galaxy, and it takes like even longer than it like Civilization, and Civilization has many different like winning options, like technology or whatever. Like there could be some transcendence stuff in Stellaris, but as far as I know, even the latest DLC hasn't brought that on yet. This is fucking stupid. But anyway, and yes, I've played Crusader Kings for hundreds of hours and had plenty of fun with it, but yeah, most of the DLC is very superficial and doesn't add nearly enough, and there's so fucking much of it, like, and yeah, that's why I don't wanna support Paradox anymore either. But moving on, I won't read the whole thing, but clearly this guy, he has 54 hours on Stellaris, and he has written many words to, explain why he doesn't recommend it. So I don't think there's anything worth, like, criticizing in that sense. Like, whether you agree with all his points or not, doesn't matter as much. That he clearly has his opinion that he's voicing and like suggesting, he doesn't recommend this game. But anyway, this is interesting comment. US Marines are homosexuals. Funny how people constantly bitch about EA, but Paradox puts them to shame with how much they grift gamers by releasing unfinished, horribly buggy, poorly optimized games with features either missing or not complete, and then charge $20 for DLC while releasing a whole bunch of meaningless DLC in the meantime. And then make it so that the future patches for the game only are balanced around the newest DLC, thus rendering people who haven't spent $50 on DLC for an unfinished game incapable of fully enjoying the game. Paradox makes EA look like saints, but you idiots will suck their dick so you can look elitist because you obviously niche game developers occupy some holy position above AAA developers that make them immune to criticism or mistakes. Paradox is a garbage company with horrific DLC practices, and I refuse to pay for their products anymore. Okay, I wouldn't call Paradox a garbage company, but I do agree with like most of his other points here. And I do like I think it's just very fashionable to bitch at EA, but seriously, I don't even know like what games they have released recently, because I usually stay away from AAA games. Like I played Shadow of Mordor, the original version. Like I played it when it came out. I replayed it recently, and that was sort of fun. And I guess that's AAA game, but generally speaking, I don't play so many AAA games. But so because I have this kind of view that they're like designed by some committee and not people with like some creative, like as a creative expression of art or entertainment, or but whatever, that's besides the point. But yeah, I do think that Paradox, they, at least in Crusader Kings, like they release a DLC, it's overpriced, it's fairly shallow in content, and some of the new content in it might actually make the game worse at first, and then of course like first couple of weeks when a new DLC comes out, the game doesn't work properly, and then you have to wait for the update to fix the new problems they made, and that's fucking bullshit. Which is also like, it's sort of like, yeah, okay, if you play Paradox games, you know to expect for it, but it's still bullshit, and they should, you shouldn't reward them for such practices. Like, so yeah, I like his basic idea. And yeah, but here is this guy Vichan saying Paradox has one of the best DLC practices as far as game companies go. And then their reviewer Kerma is like, I'm legitimately curious why you think that. I'm not saying this is lol, prove it, dude. I'm right sort of thing. I just want other viewpoints on why people think this way. And then he says, Vichan says, response partly because of the long support. Yes, they're also pretty decent at locking critical QoL improvements behind expansions. They are mostly provided for free. Taking CK2 as an example, the game has been vastly improved since launch, even if you don't own any of the DLCs. In the past, you had to buy the expansions because otherwise the original game would stop being patched. Well, yeah, okay, that's nice that they keep developing CK2, but I don't really know if they had to, like, as long as they make it stable, because there's so many different changes have been made, like that. I don't know if anybody cares about the details of CK2, but in Crusader Kings 2 there used to be like one of the diplomacy options. When you talk to a character, there was one button that you can spend a certain amount of money and then try to assassinate them. But then some people, like a lot of people, complained about it, and then assassinating other people was made more difficult, that you have to make a plot with various people in it. And, it was basically just took a lot more time and was much more difficult to assassinate people. But now they brought the old assassination function back, that as an optional rule. So it's like, I don't know, like they don't know what they want. I don't know. It's just, well, they're Swedes, so clearly they don't like know how to make decisions. But I would prefer they just make a decision, and as long as it works, stick to it. But like, don't go flip flopping back and forth. Like, I don't like it. Like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with the old assassination thing, but I don't think it's like taking it away wasn't like a big tragedy either. But anyways, then there's this guy Hermiki responding to Kerma's review. Totally disagree with you there. I have far more hours on this game than you, and I can say it is brilliant with barely any DLC. But that DLC is well priced and adds lots of content. And Paradox improved the game with every update. Like, I have more hours on this game than you, so that, like, it means it's brilliant. Like, no, it just means you're a fucking fanboy. Like, he has 54 hours here, and I think maybe he said that he's got like a different copy of it on not out of Steam or something. So, and he's played even more, but it doesn't matter. It's like 50 hours should be good enough to know if a game is worth playing or not, or buying or not. So he's clearly a fanboy, this guy. They are cancer, as the cool kids on the internet say. And yeah, then there's this guy, Rick Rockifi. I don't know how it's pronounced. How is their DLC policy bad? The DLC they released was developed after the release, and if they didn't make money from their DLC, the free updates would cease after a month. If you expect them to only charge you $40 for something that will be updated and improved for years to come, you are naive. In the real world, things just cost money, and people are not prepared to spend years improving a game just because you want it. So yeah, it's I guess like I can like understand the philosophy behind his words, but it's just I don't agree with the facts. Like, yeah, in theory, it sounds good that they keep making new DLC and updating the game that so it doesn't die and it keeps fresh. But most of the DLC is not so good. Like, it's not necessary at all. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just better. Like, you can play, like, let's say CK2 was, they ended making new content to it in like 2015. I think it would still be okay. Like, some of the new DLC is pretty nice, but a lot of it is not, so necessary. And of course, there's like complete crap like Sunset Invasion where the Aztecs attack and whatever. But because I don't think that Paradox, their DLC, is really just about making they like compared to I don't know Civilization 5's DLC. I haven't played Civilization 6, but at least in that, like the Brave New World expansion, it brought a lot of new stuff compared to this, Paradox stuff that they don't bring so much. Like it sounds cool, but in the end, it's very light usually. And of course, their fucking things don't work properly, like with Paradox. At least Crusader Kings, there's still all sorts of bugs and whatever. And yeah, this is okay. This is a good response. So not everybody is a retarded fanboy who likes this game. Whilst I would recommend this game personally, I know what you mean about the mid game. I find systems leader with fleet, battle debris, and giant skeletons, and much else. It's repetitive if the galaxy is big, but equally I could have designed the game I'm currently playing a bit better. So yeah, he's agreeing with some stuff. And yes, £20 for the latest DLC is too much, but the game is good without it. I'm glad they're still supporting the game. Plenty of developers release half a game, release a load of DLC without fixing the original bugs, and don't give two shits about the community. So it's like he likes the game, but he agrees with many of the points, like some of the points of Kerma. So that's nice. And yeah, there is another comment on the DLC policy. Dreamion. Crusader Kings 2 came out 2012 and they're still delivering updates and DLCs. Isn't that what you want? The developer who cares about their product releasing more content year after year. Let's face reality, they have to make money somehow if they're willing to release new updates and DLCs to a 5-year-old game. I'm all for it. On another note, I do hate day one DLCs. Well, yeah, it sounds good, like, this sounds good on, like, in theory, but in practice it's not this, because, like I said before, like, the DLC isn't always so good, and, it just brings new bugs with it. Like, sometimes you just, of course, with, simulation strategies like this, like, you can always keep, like, improving them, but, like, I don't know, sometimes you should just, say, okay, this is a finished product. We will move on. Like, you can, you can still keep playing it, like if it's a simulation, even though you don't keep updating it all the time. Like, yeah, but okay, let's move on to the next game. And this is the Last Federation. And this guy's Artax wrote a negative review on it, and I played this game for like 30 minutes. Like, I think the idea is very interesting, but I just found it like tedious, and I don't know. I thought maybe I'll try it later, but that was like a year ago, and I still haven't tried it, so I guess I will never try it. Like, longer than that. Okay. So then there's like this guy he's quoting Zartax, the reviewer guy. If you have any specific questions about the state of the game, feel free to ask in the comment section. And then, honestly, I have no idea what the current state of the game as I've no interest whatsoever of revisiting it. So he's sort of like, trying to call out the reviewer as like a hypocrite or something, because he hasn't updated his review. But of course, like, you cannot expect, like he says, I wrote that when I was still playing the game, and I was playing on a patch that was later than the last one I wrote about. Is that so hard to understand? So yeah, it's like you cannot keep updating your review after every patch, or like update is fucking retarded. But these fanboys, they choose not to understand. Like, then this guy Drake, if you are going to review games, then proper diligence is your own responsibility. And let's see what he actually means by it. Here's, if you aren't going to keep this review current with the state of the game, then you should make it friends only or private. So he expect Zartax to, like, play the game after every update and tell what the stuff, like, I wonder, like, if he has the same standards for, like, professional game journalists, like if he reads Rock Paper Shotgun or IGN or whatever, like, does he hold them up to the same standards? And this, like, make it friends only or private. And this guy as well, /Beckett. If you want to know about the shortcomings this game had 6 months ago, this might actually be an informative review. As it is now, update or make it private. Like, so they basically want to censor this guy because they disagree with his opinion. Like, of course, like, there are many reviews on games on Steam that are out of date, like especially on early access games. But there is the date up here somewhere. Like, yeah, posted April 21st, 2013, updated April 26, 2014. And I don't know if I say 13, 14. And so yeah, that was like 3 years ago. That's a long time ago. But like, this was already out of, like, I don't know if it was ever in early access, but it was like released properly. So it's basically up to the game company to make sure that their game works properly and it has all the features. Like, and I don't think they're like talking about DLCs. The full game, it should work and it should be fun, and of course they can fix some things, but it's not really his responsibility. Like, does any professional reviewer, game reviewer, like, do they regularly check up on games, like maybe on MMOs or something, or like when there's new DLC, but just on basic patches and stuff? Like, it's not fucking, this just sound like fucking soulless fanboys. Okay, this guy has some like self-irony or self-conscious or whatever. Sky Swimsky. As an Arkane fanboy, the company that made the game, Arkane fanboy, I actually agree with everything that is stated here. So it's like, yeah, at least, like, it doesn't sound like an actual fanboy. He's a fan of the company, but yeah, it's nice to see comments like this. Like, you like the stuff they make, but still people can criticize them, and you can criticize the company too, even though you like most of their stuff. Like, this is not a fanboy. Okay, this is the last game I'm gonna take a look at. So it's Psycho Pass Mandatory Happiness. It's like some adventure visual novel stuff based on an anime. It's a decent anime. I've seen it. I recommend watching it, but whatever. I was really excited about this game. Unfortunately, it doesn't run on Windows 10 64-bit systems. I contacted the support and didn't hear anything back from them. I also left a discussion thread and received no response. How are you going to charge $30 for a game that won't even run on one of the most popular operating systems in the world? That says pretty much all of it. Like, except, like, I guess you could, like, say, like, why the fuck are you using Windows 10? Like, you deserve all the crap you get, but I guess, yeah, it's not very fair. But anyway, Brother Belly Flop, there was this guy, Captain Cucumbers. The Mao is some sort of Mao Zedong cat. You are not even a bit sure if Win 10 is the cause of the problem. You don't fucking leave a negative review because you have technical issue and mental issue. You contact the devs or something, moron. I'm running Win 10 and it's working flawlessly. Grats, you are the dumbest kid I've seen this week. Like, well, he said that he contacted the devs or something and they didn't contact him back, so he is the fucking dumbest kid I've seen this week. And yeah, you do leave a negative review if the fucking game doesn't even work. Like, that's even worse than, you know, that is not a subjective issue, like if you like the game or not. If it doesn't even fucking work, it's a crappy game because it doesn't work. Like, oh, you cannot review this car, leave a negative review on this car because, you know, it doesn't run, so you didn't drive it, so you don't know if it's a good car. Like, it's fucking retarded. And yeah, this guy, ECGS Drake, he says run it in compatibility mode. And then the brother Bellyflop responds, I didn't pay $30 for a brand new game to troubleshoot for the non-existent developers. And then ECGS Drake, sounds like you just don't wanna deal with normal PC issues, buy a console. Then sounds like you're a motherfucking bitch, Bellyflop responds, yeah, but sure, like, I guess trying if it works in compatibility mode isn't too hard, but also like expecting that a brand new game on a brand new system runs is not like something unexpected. Like, yeah, that it should work. Like, you buy it on Steam and you have an, you know, computer that presumably can run it, it should work, and you don't have to fiddle with it. Like, it's different thing, like, you know, if you buy some, you know, DOS game and maybe it doesn't work, just like that, maybe you have to fiddle around with it. Or like, let's say you buy a game from 2010 and you want to make it work with your Steam pad, and Steam pads didn't exist back then, so maybe you have to fiddle around with the controls to make it work. I can understand that, but like, sometimes you just want to fucking, you know, buy a game and play with it, and you don't want to fiddle around with it, and you paid $30 for it, so it's not unreasonable to expect it to work. Yeah, here is Captain Cucumbers, our hero again. Don't fucking leave a negative review of a game experience you haven't even experienced, you fucking moron. How stupid are people? Like, this is so fanboy. Like, why else would he care that somebody left a negative review of probably one of his favorite games, because he's fucking soulless fanboy. Like, it's like people like this, their life is so hollow, they have nothing else in their lives except, like, you know, fill them with games and stuff. And I'm not saying certainly that, you know, like, most people who play games aren't like this. They just, you know, it gives them something nice, but they are not so hollow inside that they feel like their existence is threatened if you criticize their favorite games. And yeah, fanboys are horrible, and I usually find, like, Steam reviews, you know, accurate enough when you know how to look. Like, you know, look at few of them and, you know, look at their points. Don't just, you know, look if they say, oh, I love this game so much. Like, you know, why do they love or hate the game and whatever. But this video has gone on so long already. Bye.